Today on The Young and the Restless, Nick confronts Victoria about her trip with Nate, Phyllis confesses, and Jack asks Diane to get married. In the park, Summer sobs, "Is this real? Mom, are you real?" Phyllis says, "I am, I'm so sorry," as they embrace. Summer cries, "I don't understand, what's happening?" At Society, Nate tells Audra he's going to LA for a few days, and he needs her to run point for him. She learns he's pursuing new streaming platforms and is pleased that he trusts her enough to leave her in charge, but she'd rather accompany him. She's sure Victoria would be okay with it. Nate informs her that he'll be doing this himself, as a second to Victoria, who will be traveling with him. At Newman, Nick tells Victoria that their father wants him to take an immediate leave of absence as COO. Victoria gulps, "Excuse me." She learns that Victor wants him to run McCall with Adam. Victoria guesses he wants to make her regret not buying the company and wants to steal her entire team out from under her. She asks Nick to please tell her he turned him down. Nick assures her he's not going anywhere. He thinks it was a play to get him to back away from Sally. Once he figured out what Victor was up to, he walked out. He feels the more he pushes, the more he risks being shut out of his granddaughter's life. On Crimson Light's patio, Michael meets Jack and says he has news, but it's not good. He has a contact in the coroner's office near Pheasant Lake who has agreed to share his cause of death. According to his source, it appears to be a homicide. Jack asks, how can they know for sure? Michael warns there will be a full-on investigation. He doesn't have a lot to go on, but in terms of Diane's defense, this is a double-edged sword. Jack argues that doesn't make sense. She's not involved. At least we know this guy can't testify against her in court, he concludes. Michael sighs, true. However, he also can't exonerate her. Jack thinks Stark's death proves that Diane didn't kill Phyllis. Michael doesn't see how it rules her out as a suspect in Phyllis' death. Jack intones, "Phyllis is poisoned, days later Stark is dead. Is that just a coincidence? One person could have killed both of them." Michael reminds him there's no evidence of that. Jack argues Stark hangs out with dangerous people. Maybe his past caught up with him and Phyllis. In the park, Phyllis tells Summer she realizes this is a shock. She explains she had a waitress call her. Summer wants to call Daniel, but Phyllis stops her. She is the only one who can know she's alive. It's not that Daniel isn't trustworthy, but he might want to tell people about her secret. "You're the only one who can know I'm alive. You're the only one who can know what happened and what I need to do because of it from this moment forward." Summer doesn't understand. "You can come home now," she says. Whatever she did doesn't matter to her, and it won't matter to anyone who loves her. "The only thing that matters, Mom, is that you're alive." She pulls her into an embrace, "And you're going to come home with me." Phyllis tells Summer she can't come home. She made mistakes, did some stupid things, and trusted the wrong man. "He manipulated me, you know. He played on my deepest, darkest fears. He convinced me to marry him, and we had this plan to take Diane down and put her in prison for the rest of her life." Summer shakes her head. "Mom, what have you done?" Phyllis was out of her mind and not thinking. When she came to her senses and told him she wouldn't go along with the plan anymore, he threatened her. He was going to kill me. 10 soap stars with the longest-lasting marriages. At Society, Audra assures Nate that she will keep the ship afloat while he's gone. She wonders if Elena will be able to go. Nate wouldn't want to seem unprofessional by asking if his girlfriend can tag along. Audra points out he was going to take her the last time. Nate says it's a good thing she couldn't make it. It was all work. On Crimson Light's patio, Jack continues theorizing about one of Stark's associates being the killer. Michael asks why they'd target Phyllis. Jack said she was his new wife. Maybe she's just collateral damage. Michael reminds him there's a mountain of evidence pointing to a premeditated crime perpetrated by Diane. Jack fumes. "Diane didn't do this. I have to defend her." Michael reminds him they both want justice for Phyllis and Diane, but right now Diane is still the only suspect in Phyllis' murder that is still alive to talk about it. Nate finds Elena in Crimson Lights and tells her he's heading to LA for work. When he gets back, he'd love to take a week-long vacation with her. Elena asks, "So, you're going away on business?" Nate says there are some streamers they'd like to acquire. Elena asks, "Who is we? Are you going alone, or are you going with someone else?" At Newman, Victoria tells Nick that when it comes to the baby, it's not his fight. Sally and Adam are the parents. Nick thanks her for the reminder. Victoria tells him she's going on a business trip and Nick asks, "You going alone?" She says no and changes the subject. Nick fumes. "Don't tell me." Victoria snaps. "Leave it alone." This makes Nick 10 times more concerned. Victoria tells him Nate is accompanying her since they're acquiring streaming platforms. Nick says it's a terrible idea. Victoria isn't interested in his opinion. In the park, Summer asks Phyllis why she didn't come to her. Phyllis says Jack wouldn't have lifted a finger for her and she thought Summer and Daniel hated her. She thought everyone hated her, and that prompted her to do something really stupid and idiotic. Summer cries that she and Daniel never hated her. They love her and they've been wrecks since that night. Phyllis knows. She breaks down as she says she watched them and saw how much pain she was in. She wanted her to know that she's okay. She couldn't go through with it. Phyllis can understand if they hate her. Summer says they're on her side no matter what. Phyllis doesn't think she'll feel that way when she finds out what she did. "I don't think you're going to be on my side." Summer asks, "How guilty are you?" Phyllis says what she did isn't important. What's important is that Stark manipulated the whole situation to make it look like it was her. Summer marvels that the poisoning and the ambulance crash wasn't real. That means Diane is innocent. Phyllis says there's nothing innocent about Diane. She lies and drives wedges between people. Me and Jack, Jack and Ashley, you and Kyle. Summer knows. Phyllis complains that she let her son believe she was dead for years and years, and he's still dealing with the aftermath of that. Summer looks startled. "You just did that same thing. Mom, you faked your own death. You abandoned your children." Phyllis argues her children are adults and she came back. She couldn't go through with it. She would never do that to a young child who doesn't understand. Summer can't believe she would let them all suffer like this. "The people who love you believe you're dead. You're coming home with me. You're going to make things right with everyone in Geno City." Phyllis can't do that and tells Summer she doesn't know the whole story. Summer says Stark is dead. Phyllis gawps. "They found him." "Oh, I thought I'd have more time." She explains, "Jeremy Stark is the reason I can't return to Geno City, because I am the reason he's dead." At Crimson Lights, Nate lies to Elena that he'll be alone in California. Elena wishes she could join him and will look into a trip for them when he gets back. They kiss. Nate has to go home and pack. Elena tells him Callie's having a heat wave. It should be pretty hot. Jack visits Diane at the jail and she asks why he's there. She told him she didn't want to see him. Jack loves her and believes the news he has might actually get her out of there. Diane doesn't want him there. She doesn't care what he discovered. Michael can tell her. Her life is over and he needs to accept it so they can move on. Jack implores her not to give up. Diane doesn't want to subject her family to the pain. They did fine without her before, and that's the way it has to be again. In the park, Summer asks, "You didn't kill Jeremy Stark?" Phyllis sighs, "I'm afraid I did." She couldn't go through with the plan because she and Daniel were in so much pain. He wouldn't let her go back and told her that killing her was a victimless crime. He put his hands on me and he said that I was his now and the whole thing would cost me. She tried to escape and he stopped her. Phyllis describes him pushing her away, picking up scissors, and coming toward her. "He was going to slice my throat. Summer, I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let that happen. He was strong, but I was desperate." She put her nails in his face and she took those scissors. Crying, Phyllis says it went black. "I don't even remember, it went black. And I looked down and he was in a pool of blood. I killed him. To protect myself." Summer takes deep breaths and asks, "What did you do then?" Phyllis cleaned up the room, wrapped him in the shower curtain, and made it look like one of his criminal buddies from prison did it. She sobs, "I sealed my fate. I can never go home. I have to come up with a plan to fix this." Summer insists they can go to the police and make them understand what happened. Phyllis tells her, "Stop it. That's not going to happen. You must never ever tell a soul about this." At Newman, Nick fumes that it's a mistake, Victoria taking Nate on this trip. Victoria hollers that they're colleagues, that's it. Nick scoffs, "Come on, Vic." He points out that when she mixes business and pleasure, she tends to throw judgment out the window. Victoria snaps that Nate is nothing like Ashland and calls him a hypocrite. Nick wonders how long it will be before people notice she's having a fling with her subordinate. Victoria retorts, "I don't know. How long was it before people realized you and Sally were together? Nick thinks there are differences between their situations and suggests Victoria is playing with fire. He's got a girlfriend. He asks what she's doing. Is she pursuing a relationship with this guy? Victoria asks him to respect her privacy. Nick cares about her. Victoria cares about him too. Nick can't shake the feeling she's about to blow up everything she's worked for. Victoria doesn't see it that way and asks, "Are we finished?" Nick really hopes she doesn't end up regretting this trip. Victoria rolls her eyes as he leaves. At Crimson Lights, Elena takes a call from Audra, who asks, "Where are you?" Elena says she has to go home and help Nate pack for his trip to Los Angeles. She shares that things are getting better between them and asks Audra to get coffee tomorrow so she can catch her up on it. Audra grins. "I can't wait." At the jail, Jack implores Diane to let him help her. He won't stay away, not now and not ever. "I need you." Diane cries. "Jack." Jack blurts, "Marry me. I'm serious. Let's seal the deal." He wants to be her husband through every moment of this ordeal, but she needs to trust him. "Marry me." In the park, Phyllis warns Summer that if she tells anyone she's alive, Diane will get off, and I will pay and pay and pay. The authorities will hunt her down and she'll spend the rest of her life in prison or looking over her shoulder. Summer doesn't want to lie to the people she loves, but she doesn't have the strength to lose her again. Phyllis is sorry for putting her in this position. It's not fair. Summer sobs that she's scared she'll never see her again. Phyllis assures her that will never happen. "Listen to me. It all boils down to this, okay? You either save your mother-in-law or you save me. Because if I reveal myself, Diane will be exonerated and my life will be over. Or you give me time to come up with a plan that works. I just need time." Summer reels. Phyllis tells her whatever she decides. "I love you, Supergirl." They embrace. "Whatever you decide, I love you. I'll never stop loving you." Phyllis pulls herself from Summer's arms and cries, "I have to go." She leaves Summer stunned and in tears.